business?
I've been in business 14 years.
14 years. So when did you start?
I started when I was 25. I sold my first house.
25, you sold your first house. So what year was that you started?
Man, 2000 and I guess 2.
Excellent. So 2002. What were you doing before that?
Sold used cars.
Sold used cars.
Yeah.
Where?
Browns Mazda Fairfax,
Excellent.
across from PBI from Paul VI High School.
How long did you do that?
2 years.
2 years. Did you like it?
Loved it.
So, okay, before we move forward, what did you do before that?
I was in college, went to school at George Mason University.
And what did you graduate in?
English literature.
English literature. English literature.
No judgment. No judgment at all.
So please excuse the typos in my.
It's okay. Why English literature?
I was in high school and middle school. I was always very embarrassed when you had to read. You know, like in school, they made you like read like paragraphs. So I'm mildly dyslexic. So I always felt like I was extremely embarrassed to read. So I was that student that like picked out like the paragraph before it got to me and read through it so I wouldn't be as embarrassed. So you know, I found a English teacher that made like reading and writing enjoyable. So I took a couple classes with her, and I was like 7 or 8 classes into English literature, and I was like, man, forget it, I'm just going to go ahead and just finish it. And, it just gave me a lot of confidence. You know, I felt like if I could read and I can write, I could pretty much do anything. So that's why I chose to be an English literature major.
Excellent. So why go from English literature to used car sales?
My first job offer was to be a teacher in Prince William County, and back in 2002, I didn't know like teachers got paid so little. So
But it's a great profession.
It's a great profession. So I got a job offer, and it was like not a lot of money. So I was at the gym at George Mason, and there was a baseball player, Jeremy Lussman, actually a client, has bought $2-3 million worth of properties with us, who was lifting weights at the field house, and he talked to me. He said, well, you know, it's like, where you work? You know, in college, everyone wants to know where you work. So where you got your next job? He's like, I'm working at a car dealership. I was like, car dealership? He's like, a used car dealership. I was like, man, I was like, all right, cool. He's like, man, you would probably be pretty good at it. Like, nah, my mom's not gonna like that. My mom's not gonna like that. I got a degree. Go to work at a used car dealership is not gonna be cool with her. So I asked him how much he made. And he said he made $100,000 his first year. I was like, I'll be there tomorrow. So I showed up the next day, got hired, sold my first car on that Saturday, and it was probably the best job that could set me up for real estate. Because if you can sell a used car in the middle of Fairfax on the hot concrete, I can sell a house. So it was a very natural evolution for me. I didn't have to learn sales getting into real estate. All I had to do was learn real estate. So it was, you know, God works in mysterious ways. You know, He puts you in places and spaces that you don't have an idea that are going to help you down the line. But, you know, He had His divine thumb on my life, as He always has. And, you know, it was the best thing for me. I've sold probably 20 houses to people I met at the car dealership, lifelong friendships. You know, those guys, you know, are a staple of my business.
How did you transition from used car to real estate?
So 2 years in, I was making good money, and my dad owns real estate back where I'm from in Charlottesville. So my dad said, look, you know, instead of me giving you a graduation present, I'm gonna give you $5,000 for you to go buy a house. So that time came, and I was living in a King on Courtier Drive with a good buddy of mine who's my LO, Sean Williams. Shout out to Sean Williams. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to go anywhere. But my dad was like, you gotta buy something. You gotta buy something. You gotta buy something. You gotta buy something. So, used cars, we work on the weekends. So my only time to go out was like only certain times of the weekend. I kind of took off, and I went out to a couple of open houses. And the lady, I went to a couple open houses with my dad. Obviously, he drove up here. He's kind of a forceful guy. Get in the car, and, you know, we're going to find your house. So I went to 3 open houses, and no one would talk to me. So mind you, I'm 4 years old. I got cornrows. So anyone who knows what cornrows are, they're braids, like gangster rapper blades, right? Braids. Yeah, you got it. You got it. Right, mine was a lot neater than his. But I kept going into open houses, and they never would talk to me. Like, they would always talk to my dad, right? They would always talk to him instead of me. So I went in 3 open houses, and no one would talk to me. And I was like, man, and I finally came up to this one lady, African-American lady, worked at Coldwell Banker off of Chemo Road, I'll never forget her. And she was like, I'll help you. I was like, great. So when we meet? And she was like, on Tuesday, my only day off, on Tuesday. And I show up to her office on that Tuesday, and she stood me up. She wasn't there, right? So I go back, again, God having his thumbprint on my life, and I'll keep reiterating that. The next client that comes in on that Wednesday was a Long and Foster, a young Long and Foster agent. He bought a car from me. You don't know what they do until they fill out like the financial form. He writes down, I'm a Long and Foster agent. I'll never forget him, Lydio Vasquez. I went out with him that weekend, found a house, and in my mind I was like, well, if I'm having a problem finding a young agent that can deal with me, then there are probably a lot of my friends that graduated that are gonna have a problem finding an agent. So as I was buying the house, I took the license and saved up a lot of money, and it went straight into real estate maybe about 2-3 months later. So that's how I got into real estate.
Excellent. So your first year in business, how did you do?
Sold $6 million.
6 million your first year?
Mm-hmm.
And that was in 2002. So how many, do you know how many units?
A lot of units.
It was a lot of units.
A lot of units, because the price points were lower. So I grew with my clientele. So my clientele were college grads, so they were buying $100,000 condos and $200,000 townhouses. And then some of my clients who I worked at the car dealership with, they were buying, their second houses. So they were buying, they were selling $200,000 townhouses and buying $400,000, and that was big money to me. I really worked my database. It was email spam the hell out of people. So I would spam them every day about real estate. It was a funny story. So don't ever try this. So there's this guy in the Washington Post that would, I don't know if you guys ever read the Washington Post. That's where I got a lot of my education when I first got into real estate. The Saturday section of the Washington Post used to be a little bit more robust, and they used to have these like question and answer joints where people would question. Yeah, right. So what I did is I would copy and paste the questions and the answers into an email, and I would say the question of the day. And I would never say it was my question of the day. I would just say the question of the day, and then there would be an answer. You need to continue to learn about real estate as you go along in your career. You need to find out how to educate yourself continuously. So I hope that answered the question.
Yes. So tell us about your business now. So you've been in business 12 years. What's the goal for this year?
The goal for this year is we just revised our goal, 30 million.
30 million sales volume. Do you know how many units that is?
Yeah, a lot.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So tell me this, what is your business model? Where do you get most of your business from?
99% database.
Database. And so what does that mean?
People that I know, people that I met, people that I know and met.
Mm-hmm.
People from college, people from church, people from playing basketball, people that I play golf with, people that, that I mentor, people that, a lot, anyone that I know is considered, for me, my database.
So how big is that database?
Too big. My database, how many people do we have in our database right now, though?
For, right now it's at 19,000.
19,000.
It's too big.
Yeah, so that's the part of my business where I'm at.
I just want to make sure that's 3 zeros.
Yes.
19,000.
So that's the problem of my business that I'm having right now. We're going to talk, we could talk about the successes, but you also should talk about challenges as well. Is my database is too big. So my goal is to whittle down those people into the people that I know that I can do more business with. And that's challenging because you don't want to X people off, but you also have to concentrate on those people. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're going to be doing over the next couple of months, couple of weeks, is whittling that down. Now,
He's going on vacation, but not really.
so a seismic shift in my business came when Dawn joined my team, because it allowed me to kind of take my foot off of the things that I wasn't good at. Not things I didn't want to do, but things I wasn't good at. So Dawn, we've been together, what, 10 years?
12.
12 years. 12 years. So, again, God having this thumbprint on your life. She is, outside of my wife, probably the most tremendous asset that I've ever added to my business and to me as a person. So find you a Dawn.
Not his Dawn. Another Dawn. Okay. So what do you use to, I want to talk more about the database just because it's a big part of your business, and still 19,000 people, where are those people at? How do you manage those people?
They aren't managed very well right now. I really focus on my top, right now I'm focusing on my top 200 people that have already sent me clients, and not just clients. Like, I think a referral source is someone that can add value to your life. So I think that, you know, as a person who's going out and trying to build a database, you can't be the person that's always asking for business. You got to really focus on how you can add value to someone else's life. And it comes across as being needy. I always look at it as, if you're a taker, if you're always taking, then you're never ready to receive blessings. So you really have to really go at your database in a method of giving. So I focus on my top 200. Those are the people that get invited to all of our cookouts, our barbecues, get Nats tickets. They get phone calls. They get, things of value. Those are the people that I really try to focus on. And what I want to do is, out of that 19,000, is I want to find 100 more out of those that I know that are there, that have referred me things that I can put into that 200 to make it 300, and then really focus on those people. Mm-hmm. And then everyone else just gets drip, and they got to prove that they are worthy of being on the other side of that database.
Excellent. Just like a VIP service almost.
Right.
What does lead generation look like for you? Because I know some people think that lead generation is just like cold prospecting, and that's just like a form of lead generation. But what does it look like for you?
Lead generation for me is talking to people that I like talking to, that have proven time and time again that they love Alan and they care about Alan for me. People that I'm just as comfortable asking for a referral from and just as comfortable praying for at the same time. So those are the only people, like, I'm to the point in my business right now that I don't want to deal with someone that I can't have high level conversations with, about my faith, about my family, about their family, about whatever's going on, their challenges, things that they're going through. I really want to do business with those types of people, because they make my life better, and they make my life. Selling a house is challenging enough, but to deal with someone who is a prick, or is just a person that doesn't have the right energy, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me at this point.
Mm-hmm. When you were growing your business, how did you deal with those individuals at that time?
You got to deal with them. You got to deal with them. You have to build your business to the point where you can pick those people off. And I honestly, I'm to the point right now where I can make a conscious decision that I don't want to deal with those type of people. And a lot of those people get weeded out anyway, because once you start talking what you talk and talking your value proposition, they're like, I don't want that goody two shoes in my life. Like, I would rather not have someone pray for me. Like, I'd rather not. That's fine. That's cool.
Right.
I'm cool with that.
So you've been in business 12 years or 14 years, and you just got to the point where you can start picking people to not work with? Mm-hmm. Do you think it could have happened earlier?
Probably should have happened earlier, because I care about my clients, right? And we take it. It's not just me. We take it home with us. Mm-hmm. It's not. Oftentimes, she's the first line of defense for an issue, because they can't get a hold of me. Maybe I don't want to answer the phone. but they can't get a hold of me. So I also want to make sure that her value of life is good, and she's working with clients and my wife is working with clients, because now it's a family affair. So I can't have like my wife dealing with someone that's going to bring her energy down. She's got 2 daughters to raise. She's got things to do, and I want to make sure that that energy is right. And we function so much better when we're around people that are comfortable. So I tried to be Marvin, right, earlier in the year. I really tried, because he's phenomenal at what he does on the phone. He's like a beast on the phone. But I realized that I can't be something I'm not. I'm not a cold caller, because when I get on the phone and I cold call, man, I'm gonna absorb the energy that I'm given, whether it's positive or negative. And that, he's different. He's straight edge. He can dial it in, dial it out. That's just what he does. So, I want to be more of what I am. And if that's good enough for my clients, then that's great. And if it's not good enough for my clients, then I'm gonna go to bed knowing that, I did what I was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So I got 5 more questions, and then I'll open it up. This will be rapid fire. Are you in coaching?
Yes, I just hired I just hired a coach. Yes, we start June 1st.
Okay. What's your top 3 books?
Top 3 books.
Well, do you read?
I do.
Okay. All right. Top 3. You got to ask that question first.
So I read a book. I read 10 pages of a book, one every day, until I get through a book. So the last 3 books that I've been reading is by Mark Batterson. One is The Circle Maker, really great book. The second book that I read that had a lot of good value is Uncommon Life. It's a devotional by Tony Dungy. It's a one page, 1 day devotional. And then the other book that I read is that book over there that we read as a group. It's John C. Maxwell, Running with Giants. And it's just I really just want to make sure that when my spirit is right, everything else works itself out. Like my journey of success really starts and ends with the way that I feel about my relationship with my family and my creator. Everything else seems to work out. And as soon as I submitted to that being good enough for me and my clients, my business changed. It literally changed. It was a seismic shift. And that's where I'm going to stay at. I'm not deviating from that.
I didn't actually. Have you always been a big reader?
I was always a writer. No, obviously no. I wasn't a big reader when I was young. So I'm really catching up. Really catching up on a lot of my reading.
My last question is, what haven't I asked you that I should have asked you?
Who's my greatest influence?
Yeah, absolutely.
My father. Hands down. Taught me everything I know about how to treat people. Taught me about being a man. Taught me the importance of family. Taught me it's okay to be emotional, right? As a man. And literally taught me everything about real estate. So, my dad owns 40 rental units where I'm from in Charlottesville. And I didn't know I was learning while I was going along with him. And it has been a phenomenal life to be able to have a father, a best friend, and a mentor all in one person. It's just, I'm just blessed. Is that cool?
That is cool.
I'm good.
Any questions? Marion?
What's the biggest mistake you ever made?
The biggest mistake that I made in real estate or life?
Both. That you've learned from?
That I learned from?
Yeah.
The biggest mistake that I made, that I would say I made as a young kid, was quitting too easy. Quitting too easy. Like, I'll tell you a real quick story. I played basketball at George Mason. I wasn't very good in high school and didn't get recruited to go to George Mason at all. Came into George Mason and was just a student for 3 years. Coaching regime change. Got random there during the summer playing basketball. Didn't know that the guy I was playing with was the new head coach, Coach Larinaga, the coach who coached for the Final Four, right? So I should have known who he was because he was a 55-year-old white man that got picked up on the first team every time. So I didn't. There was no Twitter, nothing like that back then. So I played the entire summer, and at the end of the summer, he asked me, he's like, well, "What school do you go to?" I was like, "Man, I go here." He's like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Well, do you play basketball?" I was like, "No, I just play pickup." He's like, "Well, do you want to walk onto the basketball team?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm having too much fun in college. Nah, I don't want to do that." So the next day he comes back, he has an assistant coach ask me. I was like, "Man, you know what? Yeah, I will, but I want my name on the back of my jersey. I don't want to be no regular walk-on. I want my name on the back of the jersey." So he says, "Okay, that's cool." So I walked onto the team my senior year. What ended up happening was 2 days before, now mind you, I never started in high school. I played behind the second best player in the state behind Allen Iverson. And never got any playing time except for senior night. I started one night. So 2 days before the season starts, 7 of our basketball players go and get into a fight off campus and get suspended for the first 10 games of the year. So guess who ends up starting as a walk-on, right? So I start as a walk-on at UVA back home, and we went on the road, went all these places, and played a lot. And when all the players came back, I thought I was supposed to continue to get playing time. Well, that's not how it works. Like, walk-ons aren't supposed to get playing time. So 2 or 3 games, I'm sitting on the bench. I'm like, man, I ain't signed up for all this. And I quit. I went into the team. I went into Coach L. I had a meeting. I was like, "Coach, you know what I mean? I just not feeling this, you know what I'm saying?" And it was probably the biggest mistake of my life. So I have a great relationship with Coach L. I still talk to him, still do all those types of things, but it's one thing that I told him about 2 or 3 years ago is I learned a lesson that you shouldn't quit too early because you never know what lessons you're going to have throughout. And maybe my lesson was to sit on the bench the rest of the time, right? Maybe it was. But that was something that I wish I was mature enough to have understood. Maybe a 22-year-old's not mature enough to know that. Maybe I'm not. But I tell you what, the 39-year-old is. So, you know, I don't have daughters, and I want them to know that, you know, you're going to have to persevere. You're going to have to go through some things. And in real estate, you're going to have to go through some things. You're going to go through challenges. You're going to go through systems. You're going to go through bad clients. You're going to go through bad deals. But in the end, you know, it's going to be you and yourself and your goals, and you got to make those things happen for yourself. So that's quitting too early. And it's followed over into real estate. You know, I'm not going to quit on this thing. You know, I have goals that I want to hit, and you know, my family deserves me to be the man and to hit the goals I should hit.
One more question by John, and that's.
I was going to ask, what was your biggest challenge that you faced that you can remember in your real estate life?
My biggest challenge was being black and young. And I'll be honest with you guys. I always felt that a certain clientele wouldn't work with me because of what I was. And I think that limited me from growing as fast as I probably should have grown. Because my clientele now is all different types of people. And, you know, I don't think anyone's here is born with the silver spoon in their mouth. So we all have, you know, now it's not about race anymore, it's about class now. You know, now we're dealing with a different set of issues or age or, you know, whatever it was. So my biggest challenge was getting over the fact that maybe people didn't want to work with me because of what I was and not because of what I had and what I could do for them. And now I just walk with the utmost confidence, and it took time to do that. to know that I can do this job for anyone, whether you're buying a $100,000 condo or you're buying a $1 million condo. I'm good enough. So that, I think that was my big, and you know, we got young agents in here, you gotta, and that's where education comes into play. Like, education, it emits off of your skin. Like, if you're educated and you can talk it and you can walk it, no one's ever gonna ask you how many houses you sold. No one ever asked me how many houses I sold. I tell them, you know. But no one ever asked me, like, how, I mean, so don't get out of your own way. Especially if you're a young agent, get out of your own way.
Excellent.
Cool?
That's it.
Excellent.